it, but can you did about 2 days ago you released a video on deconstruction,
Yeah.
and you know what I mean. Let's talk about that, because to me right now, when you hear the word deconstruction, a lot of people feel like, see, they walked away from the faith.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna deconstruct something, only thing I always say for these brothers to say I'm deconstructing, don't use that as your avenue for sin. Use it to build back up your faith so you can reconstruct and get a firm foundation. If it was because you were indoctrinated from a doctrine, be it, you know what I mean, if it was Reformed, if it was Baptist, if it was, Lutheran, whatever the case may be. But can you speak on your take of deconstruction?
I'm pretty sure you're probably referring to the snippet that I had from my show this past weekend, where I was talking about. I have a few different analogies when it comes to deconstruction that I use. The one that I used on the show was God in the envelope. God is handed to you in the envelope, and that envelope can be a denomination, a social structure. It can be handed to you in a denomination, like in my case. It could be handed to you in some type of political envelope.
Yeah.
But I feel like what often happens, people are handed God in this envelope. They find out there's something wrong with the envelope. Rather than taking God out and keep him walking with God, they throw the whole envelope away. They burn the whole thing. And I feel like if I'm handed God in the envelope, and my things were challenged about my denomination, and I'm sitting there holding this envelope with God in it, I'm like, okay, let me take God outside of this envelope and let's talk about it. Let's talk about this denomination.
Yeah.
But let me still hold on to God. So that's what I was talking about in that snippet from my show. But another analogy that I like to use when it comes to deconstruction, I like to talk about, I sometimes call it a faith renovation. Me and my wife all the time, we don't do it as much as we used to, but we used to watch HGTV all the time.
Yeah.
And
love them shows.
Oh yeah, man. Flip or Flop. It's good bones. It's a lot of good ones.
Yes, sir.
Hey, folks, excuse me for interrupting this brother, but I ain't gonna lie and tell y'all I love them shows. I'm hell
well, we do.
Help. No, I'm just playing.
Hey, but they be good sometimes though.
Yeah.
But
they do. I ain't gonna lie.
but yeah, so like when you're going through that process of getting a house and flipping it, one thing that they always do, they kind of look at it, they want to figure out, okay, what do we want to do with this? And they strip the whole house down and they build and make it new. But one thing that they always do is they bring in an expert. Yeah. And the expert tells them, like, you can't knock that wall down. You can do this, but if you do this, it's going to cause that problem. So they have this expert that's like, hey, as you going through in your demolition day, you're tearing down this house, there's certain things that you just cannot touch for this house to be able to be rebuilt and be able to last. And I look at deconstruction the same way. As we're going through this period, because it's going to happen. You're going to get challenged. Christ was poking at the Pharisees and Sadducees and scribes his entire life. Well, the 3 years that he was ministering on this earth. Yeah. And he was constantly causing them to think, like, when it came to washing their hands, like, because he didn't wash his hands one time. They like, hold on, cuz you're supposed to be like the ceremonial washing the hands. He just
right.
He had to deal with them that way. They thought that he was going to come with that like a king, like the line of David, busting some heads open. Yeah. And he was just like, no, this is an upside down kingdom. So he took and he deconstructed what they thought, and he reconstructed, hey, this is how it's supposed to be. And so I kind of look at it the same way, that conversation, that if you're deconstructing and you don't have somebody with you, like an OG who's able to like really guide you in this, it's very, I mean, you might not deconstruct, you might end up destroying. So I understand people's apprehension when it comes to deconstruction, but at the same time, it's like, whether you want to call it that or not, you doing it because your faith is getting challenged. You're gonna go through something in your life, and it's gonna cause you to look in the mirror and be like, do I really believe what God said? Yeah. And it's just inevitable. If you're in this body, it's gonna happen. And it's happened to, I mean, there's stories in the Bible where it's happened to people. So you can try to avoid it if you want to, but deconstruction is, and if you don't like that name, sorry, but
right.
it happens in some form.